Elon Musk is not a smart person, but he does have a lot of control over the narrative, a narrative that would make someone just bumping into their politics online think that Elon knows what he's doing, think that Doge is actually serving them, and think that Donald Trump has a broader plan that isn't just big tax cuts for the rich, and how Elon is trying to do that is playing on clips that don't represent what he is actually doing. Elon is now using clips of President Obama and Bill Clinton talking about government efficiency to try to make the case for do, which doesn't make a lot of sense because there's nothing efficient about it. He is using these clips and it's actually kind of backfiring, and we're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we get into more of all of this first, we have to check out the post that Elon made.
One of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. Cutting waste, making government more efficient is something that leaders in both parties have worked on. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative. Budget reform is not an option. It's a necessity.
The American people are entitled to transparency.
We can't sustain a system that bleeds billions of taxpayer dollars on programs that have outlived their usefulness or exist solely because of the power of politicians, lobbyists, or interest groups.
They're entitled to be able to figure out where their dollars are going, and they're entitled to accountability to make sure that we're using the dollars for what we said it was for.
We are going to go through our federal budget, as I promised during the campaign, page by page, line by line, eliminating those programs we don't need and insisting that those that we do need operate in a sensible, cost-effective way. What should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody.
We hope to be instilling an entire new culture that not only our administration, but every succeeding administration will in fact pursue.
No amount of waste is acceptable, not when it's your money.
We all know that government can be inefficient. We all know that the bureaucracy can be bloated. We all worked in the fucking White House. We tried to reorganize the government. We tried to find efficiency. It's hard to do.
And honestly, some of this is pretty annoying because it's some of the stuff we should have done.
So Elon is sharing these videos of President Obama. We see President Clinton, Vice President Biden at the time, talking about how we need more efficiency. We need to trim the fat. We need to get rid of waste. And of course, everyone agrees with that. We could start with Elon's defense contracts. That would be a great place. But he's not touching those. Of course, what a shock. But what he fundamentally is disconnected on is the approach. And what Elon is actually doing is highlighting the fact that Republicans in Congress are continuing to fund these same programs that Elon says they need to get rid of in their new budget, because they're not doing a lot different besides, of course, gutting Medicaid and making sure that people like Elon get an even bigger tax cut, a $5 trillion tax cut, by the way, if we hadn't said it enough, which we need to. That's their plan. So it's actually backfiring. But what it is pointing out as well is that Elon and Trump, of course, want to consolidate as much power as they possibly can in their hands. It's the reason that they're okay with Republicans passing portions of this budget that they've said are waste, because they want to decide how funds are appropriated. They don't want Congress to do. So they don't care what the Constitution has to say. They care what they have to say, because they think they have a better way of doing things, but much to Elon Swarren and Donald Trump as well. He was quite upset about this. Barack Obama already pointed out how that went last time. Let's take a look.
Now, some people, because, I'm having conversations around the country with folks as I go campaigning, and I'll hear some people say, well, I remember the economy when those first 2 years with Trump, they were pretty good. And I say, yeah, it was good, because it was my economy that I gave to him. Spent the previous 8 years cleaning up the mess that Republicans had left me. So when I handed over the economy to Donald Trump, we had 75 straight months of job growth. And I said, here you go. And all he did with it was give a tax cut to people who did not need one, and drove up the deficit in the process. And now he wants to do it again. Now, wait. Now, in fairness, his other big economic plan is to slap tariffs on everything from food to TVs. Now, understand a tariff is any imported good, you just slap an extra cost on it. And if some other country's not playing fair in terms of trade, then you use it as a tool in your tool belt. But this is basically a Trump sales tax that could cost the average family almost $4,000 a year. This is not a plan to bring down prices. If you think prices are high now, Donald Trump's message is you ain't seen nothing yet.
Donald Trump inherited Barack Obama's economy. The only reason anyone thought positively about the Trump economy was because of the 8 years of President Obama, that is it. And the only reason anyone would think positively about the potential for Doge is because of some deregulation done by the Obama administration. I'm sure some was done through executive order, but we saw a lot pass through Congress, who appropriates the funds. This is the government structure. This is what we've talked about. This is what not only they don't care about, but they want to uproot. But again, this is just a reminder of their failures. When Donald Trump took the economy into his hands, he crashed it. He is doing so. Again, we are seeing economists report that there will be negative economic growths, and now Angry Elon is posting videos of Barack Obama, who's clearly triggered him, just because he thinks he can use that to justify his action. When in fact, Barack Obama is criticizing him for what he's done, these failures in our government. These are the economic geniuses. These are the businessmen. It's not a business, it's a government. And you're clearly screwing it up. Rachel Maddow pointed that out, this clip right here.
So the data is in. It's been a month officially as of today for this new presidential term. And what the data says, sort of broadly, bottom line, is that the country kind of hates this guy. Yeah, I shouldn't say hate. It's not the right word. It's not a nice word. Maybe it's can't stand him. Or maybe I shouldn't characterize it at all. I'll show you the numbers. I will say we probably should have seen this coming. I didn't necessarily believe that it was coming this far, this fast, but, you know, right out of the gate, Gallup did polling just after the inauguration. They did their first poll on public opinion of Trump in this second term, starting immediately after the inauguration. Literally, they had their first poll in the field the first full day Trump was in office, the day after he was sworn in. That is the definition of the honeymoon period, right? That's when you are at your high watermark in terms of what people are expecting from you and hoping for from you. But in that first Gallup poll of this presidential term, sort of shockingly, Trump was already underwater. In his first week in office, more Americans disapproved of him than approved of him. I mean, only by 1 point, but still, that's unheard of. That's a more than unusual thing in presidential polling. Gallup, in fact, said at the time that in the 70-plus years they have been doing presidential polling, Donald Trump is the only president for whom his approval ratings were underwater right at the start of his term in office, meaning more people disliked him than liked him. So in that first week Gallup poll, Trump was underwater, 47 approving, 48% disapproving. So that means he was coming in at -1. And like I said, that was something we haven't seen with any other president. And to me, actually, it was shocking enough that I didn't think it would stand. I thought that would be sort of an outlier. But now look at this. Gallup just did its follow-up poll, now 1 month into Trump being back in office, and his numbers have gotten worse. He's not -1 anymore. Now he's -6. Which makes him, at this point in his term, not only the most disliked and unpopular president in 70-plus years of Gallup polling, Gallup says it actually puts him 15 points below the average polling for presidents. Again, over the last 72 years in which they have been doing this polling. At this point in a presidential term, 1 month in, the average is 15 points higher than where Trump is right now. Nobody has ever started off a presidential term this poorly in the eyes of the American people. I mean, all presidents are above water at this point in their presidencies, right out of the gate. Trump's the only one. Trump was underwater with the American public from day one, and since then, he's been sinking like a cinder block in an ocean trench. I did not know to expect that. To be fair, part of the reason I'd expected that Gallup number might go up and not down is because Gallup's not the only game in town. There were other national, well-regarded quality polls that came out right at the start of Trump's term that did show him in positive territory. Not big positive territory, but still positive. Like, for example, the Quinnipiac poll, which came out in late January, right after Trump was sworn in, it showed Trump doing okay. I mean, not great, but in that poll, he was above water. He was +3. But now, though, again, 1 month in, that same poll, Quinnipiac, it's flipped. He has gone from +3 in his first week in office to -4 now. That is a quick turnaround for a poll that initially looked okay for him less than a month ago. It looked okay for him, now it looks terrible for him. Why is that? Well, it's because Trump's been doing stuff. And what the data shows is that almost every single thing he has done is soundly and clearly, and in some cases, wildly unpopular with the American people. Again,
Let us make it as clear as we can, as many times as we can, that these guys don't know what they're doing, and finally people are responding to it. But we have to continue to drive home the narrative. Elon owns so much of the internet and the rest of it. Donald Trump has in his back pocket. It is incumbent upon us to very strategically message against the betrayals of Donald Trump, the stupidity of Elon Musk and what they're really after, which is big tax cuts for themselves. Hammer that point as much as we possibly can. Be specific, be local, point it out. Don't let them try to trick people. That's what we got to do on the show. And of course, that we're going to be doing it every single day if you want to support it. As always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.